Hey survivors, it's your sister from another Mr. Lovely Fly Shy, back with another video. Thank you so much for clicking on another one of my videos and supporting the movement, supporting the gang, supporting the tribe. And if you aren't a part of the tribe, definitely don't hesitate to join. We need you here. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about we're going to talk about a couple of different things, but the focal point of the video is going to be about forgiving your parents. Yes, forgiving your parents. Contrary to popular belief, when we hold on to things, especially from our childhood and adolescence on up, and you know, when whatever it is that we're holding on to is caused by our parents, we don't realize that we are inadvertently cursing ourselves by keeping hate and resentment in our hearts, when really we need to come and look at the situation from a place of not judgment, excuse me, but from a place of understanding and not judgment. You know, you see, I'm realizing that to be true every single day as time progresses. You know, and what is time? That's another video. We'll get into that in the next video. But you know, I realize that if we choose to hold on to what our mother or father did or didn't do, that has a huge and a dire effect on our psyche, on our mental, and on our being as a whole. Holding on to pain simply hinders us. And I know it sounds painful, because before I got to this point, it was difficult for me to see this as well. But everything that we go through in life is meant to teach us something. It is certainly a lesson. Now, as far as coming to a place of truly forgiving your parents and just truly coming to a place of understanding and realization. And when you come to this place, you begin to realize what it is that your parents had or did not have. And so, in a sense, you can reason with them. Now, that doesn't let them off the hook for the abuse that they subjected you, we, us too, right? But at some point, you know, how can I phrase this? At some point, we need to come to a place in our being and in who we are that we can just stop and realize that our parents simply did the best they could with what they had and with the tools given to them when they were a child, you know. And me coming to this place is what's allowed me to rebuild my relationship with my father. Now, although my father, as mentioned in my my daddy's issues video, you know, he wasn't more like abusive physically or anything like that. But it was more so just the inability to give me what it was that I needed. And really what I needed for him was to just listen to me. Give me the floor. Let me speak. Let me talk without interruption. But now I've exalted myself in a respectful manner in which now we have an agreement. We have an alliance, really. And we get each other. Fun fact, me and my dad are both Leos, so I'm the female version of him. My dad is a firecracker, you know, but we mean well, us Leos, we really mean well. But we can come off very harsh and cold at times. But our hearts are just pure gold because we're children of the sun, you know? We're the true. No, I'm just playing. But besides all that though, you know, I've come to this place where now I'm able to call my dad and I'm able to be my authentic self with him. And he listens to me. He gives me the floor. And while our relationship is not perfect, it is one in which I am truly cherishing. You know, I admire my dad in many ways. He is the, I guess you could say, the poster child for strength. He exudes that in many ways. And that inspires me. And it touches me. And I learned a lot from him. And just to be able to pick up the phone and talk to him, differences aside, the past aside, and embark on something new. That's a very beautiful feeling. It truly is. You know, and I'm sharing this with you all to encourage you to do the same with either your mother or your father. And truly, I wish to come to this point with my mother as well. I want to share a dream that I had actually a couple nights ago. Let me get a sip of my pomegranate juice. 1 second. All right. So, in the dream, I was doing my mom's hair, and of course, in dreams, you're basically outside of yourself, and you're looking at yourself doing X, Y, and Z. And so, I'm in the dream, and I'm watching myself doing my mom's hair. And though she did not say anything in the dream, her energy exuded and fed off one of anger, of rage and madness, feelings of betrayal, you know. And in the dream, I was just crying as I'm doing my mom's hair. Tears are just feverishly running down my cheeks. I'm just crying. And it was as if I was a little girl again. Because when I broke the dream down, symbolically, all I wanted and was crying for was my mother's love, her affection, her. And that was a very painful dream for me. It was very painful. But I realized that my mother and I can come to that place of intimacy, of closeness, of a true bond in which a mother and daughter should have. Now, I'm patient. I'm very patient, contrary to popular belief. I'm patient when it comes to those that I truly, truly love. And those that I truly feel as though I can't live without. And my mother is one of those people. I would love to come to a point where, you know, we can acknowledge what happened. We can address it in a healthy manner. But we do not have to hold on to it. We don't have to allow that to be the focal point moving forward of our lives. We don't have to allow that pain and trauma and turmoil to be the center of our lives. But instead, we can address it and we can deal with it, learn from it, and ultimately grow from it. You know? I'd love to come to that place with my mother, because in doing so, that would allow me to become closer with her mother and to understand the chains that was bestowed upon my grandmother's mother and her mother and her mother and her mother. You get it? That's where addressing the generational chains and trauma comes in at. And at some point, you'll begin to realize that, okay, this is where it ends. Okay, and this is where it stops. Now I understand where it began. And now I understand what has happened to my lineage. But, you know, in my case, being that I was called to be the healer of my family, being that I was called to be the prophet, the visionary of my family, this is what leads me to share these things with you all. And most importantly, it leads me to continue to educate myself on ancestral trauma, generational trauma, and the list goes on. That way I can be fully equipped with the knowledge of self to pass down to my generations to come. You see, holding on to trauma does nothing but hinder you. Truly, it hinders you. It stops you from becoming who you were destined to be. You know? And for so long, here I am, oh, I hate my mom this and my mom that, and my mom should have did this. You know, because that's another thing I'd like to add. Because I was the same way. So this is exactly why I can touch on this. I used to think ignorantly, well, if my mom would have did this right, or if she would have did that right, maybe I wouldn't have turned out this way. I wouldn't have became this, or I wouldn't have became that. But truly, perhaps the incidences and, you know, perhaps the lack thereof of what she could have been maybe contributed to what I became during those times of my ignorance. However, my mother or my father was not the full blame of that. You see, trauma can take us down dark alleyways, dark roads. It can get us trapped in prison for the rest of our lives. You know? I have been saved by the bell in multiple instances, and as I grow stronger, I will share more and more with you all in which I have been through, that I've survived, you know? But back to the point. At some point, instead of blaming a circumstance or our parents or this or that, we have to come to a point where we have to ask ourselves, when are we going to take accountability and responsibility of ourselves and who we are as adults today? You know, if you hold on to the past and if you allow it to shape you negatively, that's your fault. That's not your mom's fault. That's not your dad's fault. That's your fault. Because instead of learning from whatever traumatic experience that was bestowed upon you and that you had to be subjected to, you know, don't allow that to subdue you, but allow that to encourage you. You know, knowledge is power. It truly is. And when you begin to unravel and unleash the many chains that held this illusion together, that we create in our minds, you know, when we have to blame this or blame that and blame, you know, no, we need to look within. We need to go within ourselves. And when you begin to break down that illusion, you begin to see, okay, I cannot blame my mother for what happened to me when I was 5 years old. I cannot blame my father for being in and out of prison. You know, I am an adult now, and those things happened. And our parents had to pay for those things. You know, universal law. What goes around comes around. Now, that's not to say that, you know, we want to see our parents go through anything bad or negative. I don't wish anything bad or negative upon my parents. But what I'm saying is, they have already been dealt with a hand in which I guess we all call karma. You know, we reap what we sow. So they've been sown, you know, they've had to reap what they sown. So, at some point we have to realize that our lives, up until the point we become adults, is up to us. And that's how I knew, yeah, this addiction shit, this is over. This is over for me. Because when I started correlating things and I started realizing, okay, well, I'm doing this because of this and I'm doing that because of that, then it becomes, well, you know what? When am I going to let that shit go? And it's not to let it go as in you're not validating the experience. Of course, you have to address and validate any experience that you've suffered. However, do not hold on to it for the rest of your life. It is going to destroy you. Yes, it is. You cannot blame your mother or your father when they're in their deathbeds or on their way toward death when they're 90, 80, 90 years old. You can't continue to blame them when you chose to throw your life away. You chose to pick up a drink. They weren't right behind you in your ear telling you to pick up a drink, to go to the casino, to become a prostitute. And by the way, I'm using my experiences. You know, I don't know y'all's experience, but I'm using mine. Anyway, to become a prostitute or anything like that, you chose that. I chose that. Oh my God. Sorry, I just got a message from T-Mobile. Anyway, you know, and so it has to come a point where we're like, you know what? Enough is enough. I am responsible for me now. I am responsible for me now. I am responsible for me now. Not my mother, not my father, not the kids in school who bullied me, not the fake friends, not the tricks, not the, you know, the pedophiles, not none of them. I am responsible for me. Okay? I am. And when you decide that for yourself, and when you declare that and you command it for yourself, you will certainly and surely see a change in your circumstances. But it's only when you choose to forgive, not forget, but forgive. Most times, most of the people who have invaded us or subjected us to the very traumas and to the very things that destroyed them, we have to understand that these are the things that happened to them. And the only way that they can make sense of it or to deal with that pain, I guess, is to subject another to the same. But you and me, we don't have to do that. We can grow and we can learn and we can elevate from the experiences in which we dealt. No matter how painful, no matter how graphic, no matter how traumatic, we still have the ability to rise above it all. We have the power within ourselves to do just that. And that is my mission here. Is to awaken that power within you, that realization within you. You know, we cannot blame our parents anymore. Yes, we can hold them accountable. Do not take it out of context. We can hold them accountable. But when are we going to come to a place of forgiveness? Forgiving them and letting it go and moving on and creating enriching lives. And if one parent chooses to, get on board and, they're willing to do the work to have a relationship with you and another isn't, that's fine as well. I'd love to have a relationship with my mother and my father. And I'm more than blessed and thankful to have this place of authenticity and transparency with my father. He lets me have the floor. I can speak my mind. I can be who I authentically am, and I don't have to hold back with him, as I may or may not have or had to do with others in the past, whether they were friends, family, or what have you. Don't hold yourself back. And don't hinder yourself by holding grudges and hanging on to resentments that were created in your childhood. You have to forgive your parents. You do. Now, whether you choose or you want to or you don't want to have a relationship with them, hey, that's your choice, depending on the severity of the abuse you suffered. My abuse was pretty severe as well. But you know what? I'm coming to a place of realization, and I'm coming to see things from my mom's point of view. And though what she did was wrong, I realized that hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. And whether she was unconsciously, subconsciously, or consciously allowing herself to do these things or engage in these acts, that's neither here nor there. The point of the matter is, it's up to me whether or not I choose to hang on to these things. Whether or not I choose to, I forgive my mom. Because I do. I forgive her mom. And her mom's mom. And her mom's mom's mom. And her mom's mom's mom, And it goes on and on. Generational. Ancestral. Once you come to a place where you're able to heal those things, then that's when you come into the realization of knowing and knowing of other things. which relates to who we are. You know, but that's down the line, and that's coming. You know, I'm getting little bits and pieces of my true identity and who I am. But as far as this video goes, just forgive what it is that you don't understand at this moment, in this moment. Forgive. Forgive your mother. Forgive your father. I know it may be painful, like I said, depending on the severity of the abuse. And in forgiving one person, that does not mean you are forgetting or letting them off the hook. You know, those, you know, that said individual that you are choosing to forgive, they have to take the necessary steps. And they have to take accountability and acknowledge what it is that they did. You know? But another thing is, we don't want to try to beat that up over one's head to the point where you feel like you gotta persecute somebody. That's not our jobs. It's up to that individual, whether mother, father, cousin, sister, brother, I don't know who it is. It's up to them to realize it within themselves. I know I have. I've had a lot of things that I had to realize within myself.